Hello and welcome once more to this Red Gaming Tech video, myself Marta, where as always I'm here with the latest from the tech world in the last 24 or so hours. Today I'm going to kick things off with a bit of an update to our Microsoft segment which I discussed yesterday. So in case you missed yesterday's video, essentially the TLDR is that we are going to be getting Xbox Game Pass coming to PC. And we also got confirmation that Gears 5 and other Microsoft exclusives that would previously be exclusive to the Windows Store will also be coming to Steam and other platforms. Now we have a little bit of an update to this as we have a tweet from the head of Xbox division, none other than Phil Spencer, and he said that we can expect quite a large selection of first-party games at the E3 2019 briefing. In fact, we're going to have 14 Xbox Game Studios at the event, which is actually more than they have shown before. And the tweet reads, quote, "Just finishing our final E3 rehearsal here with the team in Redmond. Feel really good about the briefing, lots to show. We have 14 Xbox Game Studio games in the show this year, more first-party games than we've ever had in the show. Fun times." Now, we've talked a lot on this channel about how Microsoft are not kidding around when it comes to really improving that first-party lineup, because it's become a bit of a meme, and to be fair, rightfully so, at how few first-party games there actually are on the Xbox One, and obviously if you've got a PC, there's even less of a reason to get an Xbox One. And they have not been shy about the fact that they're trying to rectify this for the next generation, which of course is rumored to be the Xbox Scarlet. And they have been buying studios left, right and centre, some of which are studios that I really respect the games of, so I'm excited to see what they do with some real backing behind them, like the guys who did Hellblade. Really curious to see what they'll do with AAA backing, and a bunch of other developers as well. They're only one of the many that Microsoft have brought under their wing, so I'm excited to see what we're going to be seeing from them at E3. This is pretty much Microsoft's show to lose, I think, with this year, because obviously Sony are not going to be there, and Nintendo never really, they don't have a conference, there with a Direct, which could be good. You know, we might see Sword and Shield, which would be really awesome, but I think it's definitely going to be Microsoft's ball game a lot of the time, depending on what they actually show in terms of the games. However, let's move on from that as we have a couple of things from AMD, including a Jon Peddie Research report to start off. So what we have is their quarterly market watch report, and it shows some very interesting numbers when it comes to the discrete GPU market. So let's talk the PC GPU market specifically first. It did shrink 18.6% on a quarterly basis and 10.7% on a year-over-year basis. And this is due to losses that the market suffered in general in Q1 2019 with an overall decline in shipments. Now, this is due to multiple factors. Obviously, it's a very complex topic, but one of the biggest bugbears is undoubtedly the big old demon cryptocurrency, as of course that bubble has officially burst and is just sad and deflated on the middle of the floor there. We see Intel shipments declined by 22.5%, Nvidia's by 12.7% and AMD's by 4.6%. However, it's not all doom and gloom. The DIY PC market, which is the one that I would argue most of you are partaking in, is still doing rather well from itself and actually increased, albeit by a fairly small 0.34%. Now, despite the fact that AMD did see a decrease, which again was 4.6%, they still did better overall. They saw the smallest amount of decrease, and we also saw an increase in discrete GPU shipments by a very impressive 21%. And we saw notebooks take a very small decline of 3%. Now, another thing that I forgot to mention that is also obviously going to be playing a part in the pre-built PC and of course the notebook segment as well is the Intel shortage, which I have been hammering on a lot about for obvious reasons. It has had huge effects across the entire industry, as I've said many times, and in fact if there's no CPU then there's no PC. It's really that simple. Now obviously this has given AMD a golden opportunity which they have not wasted to gain that all-important market share and taken advantage of Intel's supply woes. Obviously OEMs and AIBs have been sort of slowly switching over to AMD, but even with that in mind, with their hesitance to switch over, because obviously it's been switching over to a new motherboard, etc., AMD have definitely been picking up some of the slack, and they have definitely gained market share from it. Oh, and another fact that is rather interesting is that we saw discrete GPUs in 28.95% of PCs, which actually increased from 1.17% from last quarter. However, desktop graphics AIBs that use discrete GPUs also increased at 0.34%. Now, I would very much expect the next quarter to look a bit healthier, as of course we're expecting Ryzen 3000 to come out in July, and of course Navi is expected as well, and obviously Intel are going to be doing the whole thing with 10nm, so we can expect the supply issues to be not like immediately, oh, it's all fixed now because everyone's switching over to 10nm immediately. That's not realistic, of course, but we can start to see it ease off a little bit there as we start to see the actual efficacy in real world of 10nm, and of course we see Ryzen actually release out into the wild, and it does look rather impressive from everything that AMD discussed at Computex. Oh, and one last thing that I want to add in about AMD, thanks to a report from Phoronix, we are going to be seeing Radeon RX 5700, Navi support in both Linux 5.3 and Mesa 19.2. As according to Phoronix's report, AMD is going to be posting those kernel and Mesa OpenGL driver changes in early to mid-June in order to meet the release windows of both the Ryzen 3000 and, of course, Navi itself. But let's move over from AMD, shall we, to their arch nemesis Nvidia, as we have an update on that mysterious announcement that we discussed not too long ago. So, to refresh your memory, which you probably don't need, but, you know, maybe, Nvidia teased something not too long ago, something super, which led to a lot of speculation as to, what could they possibly be cooking up? Well, there's a lot of possibilities, as I myself discussed. I even wrote an article about it, which you can find linked in the description below this video. But according to a recent report from Von Guru, who apparently got some information while attending Computex 2019, Nvidia are planning a release of two more Turing GPUs as part of this super announcement, so that raises even more questions about what these two SKUs could actually be. According to pull sources I myself discussed in the article that I wrote, apparently the 2070 Ti, or perhaps it would be called the 2070 Super, is fairly probable, and again it does make sense when you look at the specs and price gap between the 2070 and the 2080. Now the other one, you might go, okay, so is the other one that rumoured 2080 refresh with 16 Gbps? Yes, I think that's definitely a possibility, but as I kind of bring up myself in the article, I don't know if that's a big enough deal, because what Nvidia is clearly obviously trying to do here, I'm not saying that I'm sort of some Sherlockian genius before figuring this out, they are obviously trying to steal AMD's limelight here by timing this perfectly to when they're going to be revealing information about Navi, like specs, price, etc. at, I suppose, at E3. So, is a 2080 with 16 Gbps enough of a big deal? I don't know if it is, to be honest. So, I think what we could reasonably expect is 2080 that's going to kind of squeeze between the 2080 and the 2080 Ti, so maybe called the 2080 Super or something along those lines, maybe increase clock speed or something along those lines. Obviously, this is pure speculation. It could be neither. You know, it could be a Titan and a Quadro for all I know. But given that they're clearly trying to steal AMD's thunder, I don't think that's what it's going to be. I think we're going to see some sort of 2080 refresh, whether it is just 16 Gbps or something bigger, and a 2070 Ti or whatever it ends up being called. But let me know your thoughts, guys. What do you actually think this super announcement is going to bring to the table? So, that is me done for this video, my friends. Quite a bit to discuss. I think the most interesting things was probably Nvidia's super announcement, but I'm really curious to see what Microsoft are up to with their 14 Xbox titles. Really interested in the next console generation. The specs of the PS5 were nothing short of monstrous when they were revealed by Mark Cerny. I don't know if we're going to get the specs at E3, but we're definitely going to get a lot of games that are undoubtedly going to come out. Maybe not on Scarlet at launch, but at some point. I don't know, it's tough to say, but I think given that we can reasonably expect a holiday release 2020 for both systems, I would expect that some of the games that are not releasing until then are probably going to be on the Scarlet as well. And of course, we're going to get a lot of the games for this year, which is going to be pretty awesome. I will say they always have a nice selection of indie games, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And one of the highlights for me last year was Ashen, which I reviewed a while back and was actually really good. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything I've discussed in this video. As always, guys, thank you so much for your support. I'll see you next time.